All right, YouTube Universe. Welcome to another episode of The Naked Truth. Today is NBA Day, and the big buzz going around town, well, it's JJ Redick dissing the great Larry Legend. That's right, Larry Bird, a journeyman, a man who barely averaged 12-2-2 in his 14-year career, thinks he can run some smack about Larry Legend. Well, thanks to the Basketball Time Machine, shout out to you. We're going to take a look at a video of all the new school players hating on old school players. And I think at the end, or towards the end, they got the old school guys talking about it. So let's sit back, let's enjoy. We'll make comments as needed. But let's see what these youngins have to say about the great Larry Legend. Disrespectful.
We can say your generation was soft too compared to the generation before them, the generation before them.
Shout out to Basketball Time Machine. Right.
Hey guys, this is Dominique Wilkins.
Hey, this is Sean Kemp.
This is Gary Payton.
Hey, this is Pau Gasol.
NBA fans, what's up? This is Vince Carter here.
Hey, what's up? This is Matt Barnes. If you're an old school NBA fan like I am, make sure you check out the Basketball Time Machine with my man Sean Davis.
Can't do it.
Hello and good day everyone, welcome back to the Basketball Time Machine. My name of course is Sean David and I welcome you to your weekly dose of old school NBA basketball.
Right.
Now in today's episode I want to take a look at something that has happened recently and basically for the past couple of months, even years. New school players hating on old school players. So we're going to take a look at some of those clips and old school players replying and responding to that. But before we get into that, let me ask you guys for a small favor. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you enjoy the content. All right, enough said. Let's get right down into it.
Let's see what these young dummies got to say.
So the first three clips, or the first three players that I want to take a look at, are new school players. It is going to be Ja Morant, JJ Redick, and Gilbert Arenas, who are considered, he's more new school than old school. And let's hear what they have to say about old school players.
Oh, no, he's not. Greatest point guard. He's not Bob Cousy. He's not Bob Cousy.
Bob Cousy couldn't dribble with his left hand.
Bob Cousy changed the game. Chris Paul didn't change the game.
Bob Cousy won championships when there were 8 teams in the NBA and you had to win 2 playoff series. Did Bob Cousy ever shoot over 40% from the field in his career?
Well, we understand that.
Did he overshoot? Did he ever shoot over 50%?
He also had 29 assists in an NBA game.
Oh, well, he was being guarded by Plumbers and Firemen.
When people talk about, who is better, the 92 team or the this and this team, and then you always say, what rules? what rules? What rules are we playing under? Are we playing under, rock'em sock'em robot style rules? And you know what I mean? If so, you're gonna have to really let this group adjust to prison basketball. If you're trying to play this style, then this new style, then these 92 guys, they can't keep up because they don't have the equipment. They don't have the tools. They don't have the skill set.
Well, Gilbert just said it right there, right? This is why it's so hard to compare errors. Of course, today's era, an athlete, they're afforded much more training, equipment, better recovery, medical, all of it. Back then, Larry had he called up the local doctor and had something adjusted in his back. But my point being is, if you took Larry and transported him into today's game and gave him all the benefit of today's technology, the man'd be 6'9", 240, 245. He'd have 15, 20 extra pounds of muscle on him, and he'd be a monster. So he would fit right in. So that argument doesn't fly with me about that. Of course athletes today are going to be bigger, stronger, faster, because we're advancing as a people. So that argument doesn't fly with me, Gilbert. Next.
To compete with these crossovers and step backs, and they don't have, so it's really a pointless argument.
It's about skill.
And that's why when back in the day when I was like, Dennis Rodman, they would have killed a 6'7", 210
plug you into any era.
Pound guy wouldn't be stopping LeBron James. Let it go. You wouldn't. He's a point guard. You were great at defending people who's back to the basket. He's
again, not to keep pausing, but if Dennis Rodman was afforded the technologies we have today, Dennis Rodman wouldn't be 210 pounds. Dennis Rodman would be 225, 230, maybe even bigger. He'd be able to take that beating. He'd be able to hang with LeBron James. That's the point. If you transport LeBron James back into the 80s where he doesn't get the benefit of all that stuff, is he 260, 65 pounds of brick? I don't think so.
Going downhill. There's your strength, your brute strength has no bearing on downhill guards.
I heard he was like just how he, go about the game, just that mindset he had. I would like to, play against him. So.
Yeah. This time you're not saying I would have cooked
I would have cooked him too.
Yeah, he's got to say
you would have
that.
cooked Michael Jordan?
John, you got to say that, brother. You got to
Nobody
be
got more
confident.
confidence than 12.
James Naismith invented the game. You were rewarded for putting the ball in the basket.
But
there's plenty of people that have shot more, made more, and guess what? Made more at a higher percentage than Larry Bird from three. I'm not saying Larry Bird is not one of the greatest shooters ever. He's not one of the greatest three-point shooters ever.
Yes,
you cannot make that argument.
Yes, he is. Because the 80s was so much different. His physicality, the way they guarded people.
Larry took, I think, on average, maybe 2 3-pointers a game. If that, I think it might be under that. And he averaged under 1 3-pointer a game. I mean, if he was chucking up 10, 15 threes a game like Steph Curry, and he was hitting it 40, 45%, that's why I say Larry would have averaged 38, 40 points, whatever he wanted.
Doggy,
I've been trying to make a point.
Seriously, I've been trying to make a point for you, Doggy.
Come on, man.
Well,
I've been trying to make a
hold on, guys. Physicality, Jay. I mean, you don't think that counts?
You know what? You and I are going to sit down. You and I are going to sit down. We're going to sit there and we're going to watch finals games from the 1980s.
Well, Jay, here's the difference.
I'm going to show you what physical basketball is versus physical fouling.
You're watching them on YouTube. I saw the games. I watched the games at the time. I watched all these games. You didn't watch. You weren't alive when these games were being.
For the record, I watched him as well. I was born in 1971. I was 8, 9 years old when Larry came on the scene, and I practically grew up watching Larry Bird here in Rhode Island. So much like our guy here on the right, my right, your left, perhaps, yeah. If you didn't see him, you don't know.
Played? Did you see Bird play against the Lakers in '84? Did you see Bird against the Rockets in '86? Were you at courtside watching these games? No. You got to watch the games at the time. Okay. Watching them on YouTube 40 years later is not the same at the moment.
So
watching a
let me ask you a question then. When I watch, let's say Steph Curry, for example. Right. When I watch Steph Curry off the ball in a playoff game,
oh, he's great.
getting grabbed and held by Marcus Smart, they're attached to him at all times.
Right. Right.
Then when I watch Larry Bird come off a pin down, and no one's within 5 feet of him, and they're shooting the gap.
Like when the '90s talking about, oh yeah, y'all soft, we would have put y'all on your ass.
Yeah.
You're a little kid. Like we gain weight when we get older. These are 60, 70 years old, 185 pounds still. Like, come on, shut up. You're 185. Get the out of here. Like I was afraid of you my rookie year. I don't know why. Like you're little, like John Stockton. You guys are little. Right. Like you guys, like you guys are deep. These defensive guys, like it became a joke. Like it's like put the 2 guard on me, man. These point guards are just too little, yeah. And that's what people don't understand. Like evolution, like these guys are just too little. Like you're not gonna hurt us.
So now that we heard the opinions of the new school players, let's hear what some of the greatest legends of all time have to say about that. And at the end of the video, I will give you my perspective and my opinion on that. Let's take a look.
Speaking of the physicality, there was a debate on ESPN with a former player in Redick just recently, and they were debating Bird.
Again, you can't debate physicality between eras, simply because, again, the athletes are bigger, faster, stronger, era by era. 50, 60 years from now, you know what they're going to say? LeBron James, you were slow. That man couldn't jump high. That's what they're going to say. And then Larry will look even slower, right? Going back even farther. But, I look more at the athleticism. If you have the athleticism and the mentality, you could thrive at any era, right? There's levels of athleticism. You got strength, speed, power. Let's take those 3, strength, speed, and power, right? Well, as the Years go on and the eras go on. They get stronger, faster, and more powerful. That's fine. Agility. Are they more agile today? Yeah, because they're bigger, faster, and stronger. You have anaerobic capacity and aerobic capacity. You think anybody's outrunning Larry Bird up and down? The man used to do laps around the Boston Garden while their opponents were practicing, getting into their heads, but the man could run all day. This is what he did. Then you have mobility, balance and coordination, mental resilience, and then just overall stability. Those are all things Larry excelled at. He excelled at all of those. So to tell me he wasn't athletic, get bent. Talk long enough. Let's finish this up.
And Curry, and one of the things they said is that Redick said is that Curry has faced more physicality. We called him out on.
Let me say something. Yeah. First of all, Redick don't know what the hell he's talking about. I'm gonna say it right.
I agree.
He don't know what the hell he's talking about. I'm like, what basketball was you watching? To say something as idiotic as that is ridiculous. The physicality that was a part of the league. Hey, look, when you can put your hand on a guy's hip and make him go a certain way, if you can put that elbow in his chest to slow him up, which we call slowing a guy up when you coming down the lane, so how many guys can deal with that type of pressure? And for J.J. Redick, who played this game, I'm very disappointed that he has said something so stupid.
J.J. Redick, current player who just recently retired, said that Bob Cousy played against Firemen and Plumbers, and Bob came on and wasn't too pleased. And you played in that era, and those guys set the table for us to be where we are today. And I was just interested in your thoughts on comments like that about your generation and the generations that paved the way.
Well, obviously the game is completely different. The athletes are completely different. And I know JJ just a little bit. He's a very smart kid and everything. But tell me what his career looked like. What did he do that was
called out by the logo, JJ?
Well, you know what I'm going to say. The JJ Redick, this kid here was a journeyman. He was a poor man, Danny Ainge. In today's NBA, I don't know what game he's looking at. You can't touch the guy. Cool. Anytime you touch anybody, a three-point shooter, come close to them when they're landing, it's a foul.
Mm-hmm.
I lived that 80s era, and Larry Bird was one of the greatest three-point shooters that's ever played this game.
This is the thing I'm having a problem with. Bird, who's a big guy, who got bumped all the time, played around the basket more than guards played around the basket. So I don't understand the logic for him saying that. When clearly those big guys, even to the big guys today, they get touched a little bit more than little guys because they're around the basket. So it just don't make sense when this is the thing I hate the most.
They get hammered. You could call foul.
We had our time. It was a great time. It's their time now.
Yes.
But don't crap on us to prove your point. Yeah. Because it doesn't make sense and it's not valid.
Yeah.
But the same thing, they look at Sam and myself, the old guys hating.
No,
hating on what? I don't hate on these guys.
You're responding right now.
Yeah.
You're not.
I don't hate on these guys. These guys are great. I just don't like to disrespect.
Yeah.
And to say that about Larry Bird, it was less physical. Is he stupid?
Back MVP.
It's just a stupid comment to make. It ain't got nothing to do with Steph Curry or Larry. Yeah. It's the content.
Exactly. We just broke down the end result.
It doesn't make sense. And he should know better than that.
Yeah.
And I don't care what he feel about me, what his response might be. But when I hear that, I'm like, you really don't know, do you? It's just stupid.
To me, being an old school fan, but also somebody who watches today's NBA every now and then, it's mind-boggling that these new school players even have the courage to say something like that. To me, there's one major difference when it comes to old school players talking about new school players and vice versa. The old school players basically see today's players, so they can see not only highlights but current games, so they have a better perspective in comparison to the new school players who mostly only go by highlights. And I said it in the video in the past already, to me there's one major reason why I believe that the NBA back in the days was much better than today's NBA. We had transitional players, so players who played in the old school era and the new school era. I'm talking about guys like Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, and Dirk Nowitzki. Even Dirk Nowitzki, who was in his 40s or 40 years old, who could hardly move, still was able to average like 10 points per game in today's NBA. That just shows me that today's NBA, quality-wise, has to be worse than the NBA from back in the days. It just makes sense. Even Kobe Bryant, who was basically playing on one leg, was still able to put up 60 points in today's NBA. Tim Duncan, who could hardly move anymore, was still averaging double digits. So we had those players. Vince Carter, another example. So we had those players who played in both eras and who were productive in today's NBA. That to me is just evidence. Anyway, let me hear what you guys have to say in the comments below, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to tune in the next episode of the Basketball Time Machine. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you hopefully next time on the next episode of the Basketball Time Machine.
All right. Shout out again to the Basketball Time Machine for putting that video together. And, I guess JJ Redick got what he wanted. He got his name on the national scene for a little bit of a run, a week or so. But, career 12-2-2. Just take a seat back on the bench, JJ, and shut your mouth. It would be like comparing, trying to say Muhammad Ali would get destroyed by a heavyweight champion today. Of course he would. Of course he would. Mike Tyson would kill him. Lennox Lewis would beat him. Vladimir Klitschko would beat him. These guys get bigger, stronger, more muscular. But if you could fast forward and put Muhammad Ali in today's game and give him, again, access to all that training, nobody would beat him because he had the skill set. The skills translate from era to era, not necessarily the physicality, right? So thanks for listening to me rattle on about Larry Legend. JJ, again, go take a seat on the bench. I hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe to the Basketball Time Machine. Hit my little guy Boris. Subscribe to The Naked Truth, and you'll get notifications for the next drops, okay? So until next time, The Naked Truth. We're out of here.